Okay, and now we're back to the second part of this morning. On stage we have already Tommy and Jörg. Tommy Nistro is from the Linköping University in Sweden, and Jörg is from the HDM University in Stuttgart. And they are going to tell us about a special project which is SIGN, and they will explain exactly how it works. Thank you. You can start.
First of all, saying thank you very much, Silvia, for inviting us and for having such good relations with someone. So the weather is perfect for my first visit to Tomas. And Tomas seems to be a very nice town. The project was an Erasmus Plus project, and I was a coordinator of that. I checked, because normally I'm standing behind my computer here, so I can see what's on there and there. It started 3 years ago, the 1st of September 2014, and ended the last day of August this year. So it was a 3-year project. And the partners were, after the Hogeschool, Group Autos was part of the management team. It was Jörg from Germany, it was myself, and then we had a partner in UK, UWS, University of Scotland, and we had a silent partner, or associate partner, from Ryerson University in Toronto, Canada. First of all, we call ourselves SIGN, Creative Industry Network, Global Network. So we have this partner from Canada, so we were global. And we were dealing with the creative industry, but creative industry is quite wide and broad. And this is what UK, that is the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, their definition, and they recognize 12 creative sectors, namely advertising, architecture, arts and antique markets, craft, design, also communication design, design of fashion, film, video, and photography, software, computer games, and electronic publishing, music and visual art, visual and performing art, and then publishing.
Tommy, I'm sorry, you have to use the mic because otherwise the streaming won't hear anything of what you said.
Now I have 3 things to keep care of. I'm not sure I can do that. There's 2 things. Okay. So, number 10, publishing. That was the area we were going for. And then there is also television and radio. But we were in publishing. And then I made this little model saying publishing, we have web media, multi-channel media, print media. But it's always about communication. Whatever media you use, it is about communication. You want to communicate something, and you need the media that is the best one to use, depending on the target group, of course. And then there are communication design, information design, and interaction design. And we were dealing with all these 3 design areas.
Okay, thanks, Tommy. Yeah, I think I can manage it. First of all, I would like to give you an insight to the project before then Tommy takes over again and explain the main findings and outcomes of the project. And basically, like Tommy already said, it was a Key Action 2 project, and that means it was an Erasmus Plus network project. And our main focus was applying benchmark to the world of education. But benchmarking in the sense of learning from each other, best practice approach, not benchmarking in the sense of ranking. So this was our basic approach, and the second very important goal of this project was bringing together the worlds of education, employment and training. So, what is the important thing of that? Like Luke was mentioning in his opening keynote speech, is to some extent for many, many years or even decades, we experienced that the universities to some extent were isolated from the business world. So we're really looking at that, what are the different skill sets nowadays needed in the creative industry? And we had a deep look at what are the universities teaching, and is there a skills gap? And if so, what are the skills needed but not taught by the universities? So the next thing is we want to do, and to be able to do this, you not only have to educate and train the students, you also have to educate the trainer. So the slogan is train the trainers. And that was another very important aspect of this science project. And finally, we want to use more modern ICT, information and communication technology. So we are talking about e-learning approaches, we are talking about blended learning approaches, and so on and so forth. So these were the main goals of this science project. So to give you, to provide you with a better insight, I would like to point out a little bit, it was a 3-year program, so how we did it. So in the first year, it was actually 2015, we concentrated on the identification of skills gap. So really did some research, European papers, we go to the different universities, and the project partner had a wide variety, or let's say geographic coverage. So we had universities from Scotland, from Germany, from Belgium, from Sweden, and we also had the partner in Canada, so we could cover quite a lot of different educational systems. And we did researches how quality assurance, how curriculum development took place in all these different nations. The next aspect was the year 2, which was mainly dedicated to say, okay, what are the skills gaps we detected in phase 1, and how can we address these detected skills gaps by developing new curriculum? So what is missing in the teaching, and how can we approach this? So is e-learning a proper way to do this? Blended learning or international cooperation. So what is the proper way to teach these identified skills? And finally, in year 3, we checked that. So we did some evaluation of the success of these courses we developed. But this is only a very rough sketch of our agenda, so I would like to go a little bit more into detail. So first of all, from October to February, we really did this basis research. So, and thanks to Luke, he was doing most of that work, reading EU and research papers and so many strategy documents, so really could find out mainly 2 important things. And one was, what is the directive? So, for example, what is the idea of the European Union, how the creative industry should look like? What is the idea of the European Union, how curriculum development should take place? And we published a report about that. But then we also have a deep look at the different national education system and how quality assurance and how curriculum development is realized in these countries. And I can tell you, for example, from the Scottish system and to the German system, there are quite a lot of differences. So the approaches in these 2 countries alone are very different, and if you take other countries, you will have even more differences. So, but from April to July 2015, we really were able to say these are some topics where we identified that are needed by the creative industry, but are not obviously a part of all educational systems. So we really concentrated on these 7, I guess. Tommy, am I right? 7 or 8 key topics, and our aim was to develop courses that could be used internationally, not only at the partner institutions, but internationally to overcome these detected skills gaps. And this course development took place from July 2015 to March 2016. And after that, as you normally do as researcher, we have some field testing, so we presented these courses to students, first of all at the local university, and then the idea later was to also test it at different universities and compare the results to each other. And followed was implementation. So developing course concept is one thing, but then producing all the materials, slide, videos, and so on, you need to teach this course is a completely other thing and very, very time consuming. And we have to say we had a little underestimated the amounts of effort and time needed to do so. But after then, we evaluated each and every course. So we developed a scheme that can be used internationally for an international setting to evaluate course materials presented in an international context. Yeah, and finally, also very time-consuming, we had to do reporting, dissemination, and all that stuff, what is necessary if you are conducting an EU project. Yeah, what were the basic outcomes? So, first of all, we developed 10 different courses, which were presented, most of them were 7 out of these 10 were really presented at one of the partner universities. Then, like I said in the beginning, one of our goals was train the trainers. So we had 2 intensive programs aiming at teaching the staff. One took place in Stuttgart and was about using of modern forms of education, e-learning, blended learning, distant learning. So to use this benchmarking approach to learn from each other what are the best approaches to do so, to exchange experience in the field of e-learning. And the second took place in Ghent. It was benchmarking was the main topic. So really looked at how quality assurance for course development take place in the different partners. And it was not only the participants from the partner taking place in these workshops, we had international, we had in the workshop in Ghent, we had partners from Canada, from US, so it was really international workshop and not only a workshop for the project partners. We published research reports and we were on several conferences, and we will be here today to present the SIGN project to you. We are hoping, since this project ended in August, but we will be quite sure that we created in this 3 years' time a sustainable network. So we were absolutely sure that this network continues and we will have an ongoing relationship between the partners even if the project has ended. And finally, I think it's a very good catalyst for entrepreneurs' creativity, so it's really a starting point to conduct other projects. So that's basically the timeline of the project and the main outcome of the project. And now my colleague will take over and report about our findings and our experience.
So, challenges. What were the challenges in having such a program? I was astonished when you from here, sorry I forgot the name, said you were involved in a program with 18 different partners. Jesus. That would be something to coordinate. I would never do that. I was coordinating this with 5 partners. That was challenging enough. Because communicating at a high level in a foreign language, for instance, we did everything in English, but there was only 2 partners who had English as their mother tongue. I think my English is not that bad, but being on an academic high level for meetings, it's quite challenging. You become rather tired in the evening, and sometimes you have to just break for half an hour to refresh the brains. We had working in different time zones. UK were 1 hour before, like you are here in Portugal. That's not very challenging. But then we had a partner in Canada. who is 7 hours before. So some meetings, some Skype meetings, normally, you know, everyone that Skype meetings you normally put on the video so you can see each other. But sometimes she said, no, I'm not going to put on the video because this is 3 o'clock in the night and I'm sitting here in my pajamas, just awoke for this meeting. Then we have dealing with different academic calendars, also challenging. For instance, in Germany, the autumn semester starts, you know, late or mid-October. In Sweden, it starts late August. And in Belgium, it starts... Never starts, true. So that was challenging to find when should these courses take place, when should the meetings be, when can we have the workshops, and all that. That was kind of challenging to find proper timelines. Dealing with different, synchronization of activities, different semester periods, holiday seasons, key plays, grading. There are lots of things that are different, even if we think, as you said, there are. In Europe, it's quite the same. Yes, on the what's it called? On the surface. But if you start to scrape the surface, you will see there are quite a lot of differences. They are not that hard to overcome, but they are there. You have to deal with them. And then we have some unanticipated events. We have personal change. We have people that were obliged to do other things for a period of time and take a lot of effort into that. We have changed the position of a key player. So there were lots of challenges. What was the successes? Impact on study programs of partner institutions. Several of the institutions were reorganizing study programs, and this project had a huge impact on that. For instance, the program I'm responsible for in Linköping, we will take 2 out of these 8 modules that actually become 11 modules in the end, because we did 11 modules. And then several other of the modules have had impact on how we do some of our own modules. So it had a huge impact. And in Scotland, I think they took 4 or 5 of the modules into their own curriculum. And they have exported to Malaysia as well, one of the modules. So there was successes. Internationalization of the curricula, yeah. These modules will be used worldwide, some of them, and it's possible to download them and use them for you in tomorrow, for instance, or check the templates and what you can use from those. And strengthening existing international partnerships. Some of these partners had been having exchange agreements for several years, and this was strengthening these agreements, so to say. And also installing new international partnerships, because for the workshops we invited people from outside the consortium, which was good, and they want to be part of the consortium now. Installing an ongoing international network, that was what Jörg said earlier also. Hopefully there will be a signed network ongoing forever and ever and ever. Some findings. Working in an international setting is enriching. I think everyone should try to, for students, you should try to go abroad for a semester, if possible. Exchange semester. It is enriching to go to some other country as a student or as a staff member or as a person to learn new cultural ideas, to know how other people have it in other countries, and not just as a tourist for 3 days or 2 weeks, because then you don't come into the depths. You work, and then something, I think you said something similar. Project work is, you work with persons, not institutions. Team building. Trust amongst persons is an essential issue. You have to trust the other persons in the management group, and because it's not Linköping University working together with Akademi, it's me working with Luke, unfortunately. We have had a lot of fun. That's also essential. During a 3-year project, it's not only work, you have to have some fun. Otherwise, it's kind of boring. So, trust among partner is, or partner staff is essential. EU projects are door opener for other international cooperation. And then I leave, unsexual applications are frustrating but part of the game. And I think Jörg had a comment about that.
Actually, we had a follow-up project of the SIGN project, and was called as NICE project, and it was not accepted. So it's really frustrating because, if I remember it correctly, it is a 97-page document you have to fill in to hand in this application. But it's part of the game, because we handed in the German national agency, and at that time they had 52 project applications, and only 16 out of this 52 got the funding. So you can imagine that most of the time you write applications, most of the time you will fail, because there's so many other very good projects too, and as I said, it's part of the game.
Thank you. And then we have the next slide, please. Conclusion. And this is kind of personal conclusion. Go for it. If you have an interest in international affairs or international cooperation, go for it. Students, go for an international internship or studying abroad. And Celia and staff, go for Erasmus Plus project. It opens your minds a lot to work like that. Get good examples from other partners. And there is, and get an international network. Because that enriches your work, it enriches the students' studies, if they come teachers from abroad that are maybe experts in some part, can give you a deeper look into something. And if you are interested in this, check Erasmus Plus project results. Just Google that, and there will be lots of projects that have been funded. And if possible, try to connect to other projects that already have been done, saying this project was very good, but they did not do this and that, so we want to do that. We want to continue to make it broader, to make it more, to deepen the knowledge from that project. And also, everything we have produced during this 3 years period of project time is available at 2 sites. It's the Erasmus Plus project results, but also at our website. And that is the sign-education.eu. There you will find almost everything we have done, all the course modules, all the presentations, all the reports. It's available there, and it's free of use. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions? you were saying about the difficulties. You were saying that you applied for so many projects and some of them you have failed because you don't have that much funding. And I was thinking, I don't know if it's all right or not, when you have a project with several universities, if you get a no for funding, can other partner apply for the same project or not? Because I was thinking, probably if Tommy applied to that project, you would have a yes.
It's hard to say, because you always have to apply to the national agency where the project leader comes from. So
okay, so
probably
project, they would see it's the same.
Yeah. So what you can do, and you will do that. You can rework and then resubmit the application.
Okay.
So we learned a lot from the comments from the evaluators. For this project was not accepted for the first one, and we presently work. Yes, we presently work on getting slightly different rational, other objective, being more precise, and then we submit it 2018.
And this project, the SIGN project, actually started with a project that was not funded. We tried in 27 or 8 to start a masters, an international masters in sound, like the ones you had. And we were let down. We were not funded. And then we said, okay, let's take 2 steps backwards and redirect what we are doing. At that time we had professors in sound, and then we realized, no, we are much more into design. So then we went the design way, and we said, and we made a new application called ICDC. I used at least 3-4 days trying to get the acronym ACDC, but it was impossible. So it became ICDC, Intercultural Design Camp, which was 30 students from 30 students from 3 countries going together for 2 weeks, getting briefs from companies or organizations in the specific country, working with that for 2 weeks, and 10 teachers. And it was
more like a summer camp.
It was like a summer camp. And then during these summer camps, we started to write the application for this. So we have 2 successful applications. First one non-successful, then 2 successful, and now 1 not. And I guess the 5th will be successful.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, any other questions? So let's move on. Tom, can you connect your computer? Next, we have Thomas Törnqvist from Linköping, also from Sweden, and he's going to tell us about his reflections on design educations and value creation. We just have to wait a little bit for the connections. It is? Are you sure? So you prefer to stand here? Okay.
Okay.
So here's the mic.
Estimados colegas, estudantes.
I forgot to tell you, he speaks a little bit Portuguese.
Não falo português, so I'm speaking in English, but nevertheless, hi, this is me. I teach graphic design at Linköping University, and I've been part of almost everything that has been mentioned earlier today. I thank Luke very much for actually doing most of my presentation for me earlier this morning. I will touch on similar matters, things that are related to this. Perhaps with a slightly different approach. Some reflections on the value creation. What could value creation be here? So, of course, you all want to be rich, swim of money, etc., etc. Doesn't work well with the modern economy, where you have no coins, you have no bills. It's just digital currencies, right? Can you imagine, you're familiar with this one? Scrooge McDuck. Swimming in bitcoins? Yeah, things change, as you know, things do change. When we discuss stuff like investment in something, because design education is an investment, it's not a cost. You're not wasting your time going to lectures. You'll learn for the future, things that will come in handy, things that will actually provide you with good living, good career opportunities. Sometimes, as I learned, things change, you take a different direction, but usually that's a result of being prepared, a result of all those investments you have made. So there's an individual perspective. Well, regarding employment, salary, profits you can make from it, etc., but also those the satisfaction you may experience in your working life. Yeah, I'm doing good, I'm making progress, and that's something that should be highly recognized also. Most of you students who are just about to start a career, things will change, and you will appreciate the possibility of being able to change you yourselves with the changes in the industry. Because that's the next thing, next perspective also, the industrial perspective of value, competencies you develop, resulting also in business development, as Luke was mentioning earlier this morning, about things are changing and you have to cope with change if you want to stay in business. So that's important, of course. And then you have the societal perspective. Your nations, the European Union. Why does the European Union fund these projects? Well, hoping for a better future for Europe, for the partner states of the European Union. It does have effect on, design has an effect on democracy, of understanding, information design, stuff like that. Also, so there are different levels, all of those matter, and in all of those levels, internationalization also comes into play. Learning, the benchmarking Tom mentioned, or you have mentioned also, it's really important to make use of that. All these perspectives require outlook. You cannot just be shoegazing, looking down on this. You have to have an overview. You need to look out to get that. So, and if you do, well, of course, you would look for the return on the investment also. But the return on the investment, you should discuss what is that return. It's not just money, it's not just financial success. How do you get that return? And of course, when do you get it? The quick fixes, better paid next month. Well, if you take on assignments, commissioned work, you probably want your bills paid, right? The invoices should be paid. But there's a longer perspective when you do investment, because you invest in the future. And that's also something to realize. What's the time horizon? In the financial world, I've learned the hard way that most investors, they want to have an exit plan. They want to leave after 3 years when their investments have been rewarded. They get a good return on that. But you guys are to invest in with a goal that's much farther away. Your horizon is different. You have to invest into the great unknown, something that's beyond the horizon, something you don't really know of. And that goes for us too, as we teach also. And the institutions that we work with, there is a risk somewhere. You have a bright light, you can foresee that. But then the darker it gets on the other side, the higher the risk, but also the higher the possibilities of a greater reward. But it's hard to foresee, so you need to be flexible. What you can do is very much like this. It's like a rowboat. You look backwards, but trying to find the direction behind you, rowing forward. So it's a bit different. But you know that change has happened, it is happening right now, and it will happen, and somehow you need to embrace the change. But then you have the trouble of forecasting. How far ahead could we see? How could we think about the future? So we probably have to look for the drivers, not the superficial, what meets the eye right now. We see technology change now, we're talking about this or that. I'm very much into marketing, and in market communications you see, well, those buzzwords coming up. It's influences is the great word now. Influences. They talk a lot about influences. And what's that? Well, we used to have in every village before, but we didn't call them influences. We called them other names. But nevertheless, the drivers behind those was important. Am I talking too fast? Lunch is waiting for you, so you should be happy if I talk fast. Right? What you can do, what those futurologists do is that they look for those pest things. And pest is actually political, economical, socio-cultural, and technological factors. And you can also have the legal and environmental sustainability factors also that come into play. So pest analysis for us is very much about trying to see the drivers for change in markets, in behavior, consumer behavior, where would they go, and anyone who's been working with the printing industry has experienced a lot of that, I suppose, changes in behaviors and changes in markets. And that affects, of course, the business models, the way we make money, the way we create a living is also really important to understand the drivers behind, for example, automation, automated processes right now. What are they going to be result in when it comes to business model? The tools being used. I'm old enough to have started in advertising business before we were digitalized, or before we were actually using computers, at least in a larger degree, doing things by hand, setting text the old-fashioned way. So regarding tools, I've experienced a really astonishing revolution, and most of that revolution, I think at least a very large and important part, happened only the last 3 or 4 years. There's been a lot of change happening. And of course the internet, we can't forget about that. That's one of the real game changers. Platforms and channels. What are the platforms we use, and what channels do we use for communication? Like the internet, as I mentioned, is one of the 2 game changers. And work titles. You guys, students, you are going to get titles that do not exist today. There are lots of titles around now that didn't exist just a few years ago. And some titles have gone extinct. They're not being used anymore because they're not really relevant in the modern landscape. And we also see changes, people doing similar stuff but with a different label nowadays than they used to be doing. So this all leads to some good reasons for us discussing the risks and the opportunities, the consequences for higher educational institutions. How does this affect us? In our way, should we keep on just teaching what we do in the same way we always have done because we know what we're up to? Now, Luke answered that. The science project is a good example also that we need to address this somehow. So one of the things we did, and I think many other institutions have, is that we've been working with those goals and requirements, and we've done it piece by piece. Print media, that's us. We do print media. We do the starters and then we work on. Digital media, something else. And we work from some sort of foundational level up to something that's really edgy. Maybe not cutting edge, but it's something specialized, something that's good quality. But we have to start somewhere. We change our perspective a little bit. Touches a bit on what Luke also said about the IC organization's thoughts, things we've been working with, and once again the side also. There's a common fundament somehow, something that is a common understanding that most of our students need to have before developing further. You can of course think about what knowledge do you need to have high resolution of, what can be low resolution of. We also have been discussing stuff like the agility, the ability to change within the education, not stay the same. But how do you safeguard quality? How do you have, what kind of a perspective could you have, but still be agile? Don't hesitate to ask while I'm speaking or interrupt me if you want, if you have any questions or comments. This is more like reflections. I'm not telling you the one and only truth. I'm not preaching, I think. But continuity is also important. If change is happening all the time, we somehow need to have some sort of continuity. We can't change every week. We need to know what we're up to, what our goals are, the overarching goals in particular. Details can always be discussed. So we need to stay relevant and we need to create value. And if you have a common fundament, you can, it's like a pyramid. It can stand in very many different places depending on what you actually teach. The common fundament, but then you have to have the edge somewhere, the top of the pyramid. For us in Linköping, this resulted in us, we had already had it before, but we have been developing that lately even more when we changed our study program for the graphic design communication bachelor's program. Looks nice, like a princess crown, right? Well, we have a common fundament, basic courses, it's like layers of basic understanding, and then we add something to that, and so on, and then we move on to higher levels, and as we go along, the students more and more start specializing. So very early on, all students have mandatory courses covering the fundamentals of graphic design, for example, or the fundamentals of graphic technology, not print or digital, but the fundamentals of graphic technology, using it, thinking about it, basic understanding of it. Then they develop, and you see they overlap for quite some time, but finally, with mainly optional courses where the students can choose. They're not mandatory anymore. They can choose, or they can work within projects and specialized roles or responsibilities. They can work with the creative part, or they can use with production, or they could work with management. So we divided it into that three. But all of these are based on our idea about this being a foothold for new steps later. Could be a master's program, could be work life. Maybe I should point out that we are not a vocational training institute. This is a university where our sister programs, the similar ones, are 5-year trainings of engineers in, for example, media technology. So we do not really supply workforce to the industry, but we do train students to be appreciate and find a good foothold for further development in the industry. But it's one with a lot to, and the lifelong learning, because things will keep on changing and we have to prepare them for the ability to change, which is one of the key things also. And yeah. One of the changes also that has come up, it's not just the 3-year bachelor's program in graphic design. Started this year, this autumn, a master's program in visual media design. And this is the basic idea behind it and the approach to it. And if anyone's interested, we're happy to put in contact with Ms. Levin, the professor responsible for that one. It's intended for our students on the graphic design and communications program, but also others. It's an international master's program. So the working language is English, it's taught in English, and the students now come from Pakistan. The students we have now, Pakistan, Canada, Germany, Sweden. Yeah, one Sweden, the rest are from other parts of the world, actually. And with some good opportunities there to focus on visualization. That's one of the key things also for the engineering students there working with scientific visualization. Well, a couple of your teachers, you've seen the dome and stuff we have, right? In Norrköping? You've been there? Oh, okay. Okay. Oh. So, but this master's also, the visual media design, is also tightly connected to other master's programs. So it's really one master's program with 3 different streaks in it. One is facing more towards product design, and the other one is facing more to service design, although they are labeled different, but that's the reach. The structure is, pardon? Services. Diseño de servicios? So it's about procedures, processes, and stuff like that in making business and things. And it's done like this. There are three. Then you have these challenges. Challenge students working on an issue with students from all three versions of the master program working together on the same kind of problem being posed, looking for new opportunities. So it's really exploring new areas, using all the different skill sets, bring them in and see what happens in a studio-like environment. You have core stuff like co-design and creativity, also that they do with design research methods, and then you have those special courses or course modules aiming for the specific skills or the specific, for example, visual media design, making use of what they need, so it's sort of more like top-notch for that specific area. So I hope what I've presented so far is very much a combination of both width, breadth, but also depth. So it's how do we combine, because...
I just want to add that these international masters, in Sweden there are no fees in the universities for students from within the European Union. No fees at all. There are fees for students from outside the Union, but students from the European Union, no fees.
So, super from the German series. But then there's the cost of living. So, but nevertheless, and this is one of the things we've been discussing quite thoroughly, as you heard in the SIGN project, the IC group discussions, and also these IC conferences for a few years now. We've been discussing change, what happens, how would we as higher educational institutions in the design area, how do we relate to it? And this is an attempt that we've done in the city of, or the campus Norrköping of Linköping University, just to make it complicated. Well, then again, the value, we are supposed to provide value. That's why that's why we exist. Value for the individuals, the students, value for the industry, because we have a responsibility to make our students employable, and we should deliver something there, although we are not really funded or run by the industry organizations that relate to them. And of course, Swedish society, Sweden as a nation, to provide quality, to help contribute to the ability to compete on a world market also with specialties. So, the thing is, do we actually create something like that? You know, infinity and beyond? Or is it more like that, a failure attempt? We don't know yet. But we know that these heads can be replaced. And if anybody with connections to Walt Disney Corporation here is, I really apologize, because I've heard they're really difficult with people. So, this was some reflection. Hopefully you have some opinions, and there is a discussion later on today where I hope you would be willing stuff also like this, value creation, and hey guys, it's your future. And what are we who try to educate you do with that? Just to make things easy. Okay? That ends my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Any questions?
Before I make an error, when you show that slide with the CPM thing, P stands for production or productivity?
Production.
Right, that's what I wanted.
It's the technical part, because
Okay.
we do train our students on technologies.
Great. I have this question because I think that I don't know many people that have those three areas resolved well in their brain. Are you following me?
Yeah.
Because either you are a good creator or a good designer, either you are very good at production with production skills, or you are a good. I never. Well, in the students, it's very early to understand, but even in professionals, it's not very common to have those three areas really grabbed, resolved in your head, because it's somehow something's missing. For instance, myself, I'm a designer with lots of you listen to me, with lots of years of working, and still, well, I think I can manage well design or creation and production skills, but management, it's never that solved. How would you say to? I know that's absolutely important. It's to have the three fields good or connected, or how would you say, not to me, but to the students that are beginning now, how important those three things are, and if you're not good at one, what could you do?
Yeah, it's a tricky question because it's a tricky reality also. No, you can't be equally good in all three, I think, because then you will stay on the bottom level, right? So one way of seeing it is that all of our students should be able to identify different contexts, all those three different contexts. You could be a designer, you have a reasonable understanding of design as a competitive force, using design for market communications, for creating good foundation for a company, like companies like Apple, for example, maybe one of their trademarks, truly. As a designer, you need to have a fairly good understanding also of the feasibility of things. So you need to not only identify context, but you probably need to understand some context. But you don't have to. You're not going to design everything. You specialize somehow. So you need to understand that part of the feasibility. That means production. So that you don't have to be able to run presses. You don't have to be able to perfectly understand how a screen printer works or so, but you need to understand the possibilities of it, right?
Limitations, maybe.
Yeah.
Either way, I think either way.
Yeah. But I would also say that if we look at modern marketing communication, you also find technicians being really important as creatives also, particularly when it comes to digital communication. Cross-media solutions, transmedia, storytelling, stuff like that. The technicians are the guys who know production technologies are really important. Sometimes are the ones who come up with the really novel ideas, innovative stuff. So it's very much about being able to identify context at a certain level, understand a more narrow context, and finally be able to deliver with an even more special or more limited context. No, you should do it like that, so you can hear me. So there are different levels of this, but we don't expect any student to be equally good in all three areas. That's why we have those tips going in different directions. They overlap to some extent, and then they go separate.
In a practical phase, all students at the program take the same courses, same classes, the first 3 semesters to get this foundation. And then they choose different courses, or as Thomas wrote, even if they take the same course, they choose different roles in the course.
So after those 3 semesters, each one makes his course?
Yeah. So we take editorial design, for example, actually. Yeah. We have room for all those 3 skill sets there, but they have to work together. They need to share a common understanding, and then the students can take on different responsibilities within that project, major design project, for example.
Right. Thank you so much.
Okay, Krasi. We'll have a discussion later on, but Krasi.
I just want to ask really, it's probably a longer discussion to be held, but what you told about being able to be agile and be always ready to change the direction that you're going through, or this is actually really, really important nowadays because of technology and everything is changing from one moment to the other. But my question is, what advice would you give to a student right now to broaden their minds in the way that in what ways they need to be agile, so that they can be able to not be really put down when they leave the university, so they're not overwhelmed with everything, so that they're ready to actually be agile, you know, to accumulate more knowledge and choose the right paths for themselves.
I understand the question.
It's really difficult. I know
You
it's
expect
really
words of wisdom from me now.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
Could be my consultancy business. No, I think there's okay. I think there's there are a few things that you need to be able to succeed. You need to embrace change. You must be willing to change. Part of that is hard skills. You need a foundational logic of things that makes it possible for you to be able to change from something. You need a basic skill set. You can't start, right? Design thinking, yes. Design thinking, depending on how you want to describe it, but you have the, of course, the empathy part and everything. That's really important. And I think that brings us into the soft skills. Understanding the problems, but also the softer sides of problems is really, really important. And also, Luke also mentioned this, the industry is actually looking for soft skills, because as we regard our schemes, there are very few situations where they will be all on their own. They will be cooperating as graphic designers with engineers, with managers, with different people. And we see a lot of the industries, at least the somewhat larger, combining skills in different task forces from different projects. And as a graphic designer, you need to be able to communicate with a programmer. We teach our students a little bit of programming, but it's not because we want to train poor programmers, because you need much more training to do it, but they need to understand programming. They need to understand what it is, how we can use, and they need to be able to communicate with skilled programmers who will take care of the real core issues that our students will not be able to unless they're trained about. And that also shows one of the things with the soft skills. I think it's also a wider understanding. Have a general knowledge. If it's archaeology, fine. You never know when you're going to use it. And if you work in the communication industry, you know that you have clients who provide you the most interesting things you never heard of before. That you need to have a way of addressing this and a good general understanding, general education.
So it's not only agility, it's also a good networking and a good connection with people.
Networking is really
knowing the right people all the time. Yeah. So you can get help if you don't know how to deal with it. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a very good. So, but then open-mindedness. Being open-minded is so important.
Yes, always.
Of course, we'll discuss in the afternoon, but continuing with the advice, I think we should keep some space in our brain, not to be an expert in a lot of things, but to be aware of the things. Things exist. You have to go through a path, but you will need to know a lot from the rest. If you work, as you said, if you have to go to work with a programmer, you have to know. You don't have to need to be an expert, but you have to have a notion of what you could do or what you cannot do. If you are a designer and you go to if you have to print something, I don't know, something weird with a lot of foils and varnishes and everything, you need to know the limitations. You don't have to be an expert on that, but you have to know. You have to have a notion. So if you had a variety of issues or matters that you are not expert, but you are aware of. You know what they are. If you don't know, you go to Google. Google is your best friend nowadays. I can't listen to a word and not understand and try out and seek out what does it mean, because I can't stand to be I don't know ignorant all the time. I don't want to know everything about everything, but I have to have a notion, and it's so damn important for the profession right now, for a career, to be wide open. And don't say no to the first thing that you will get that you think, I don't understand that. You don't need to understand it all. You have to understand a bit.
Okay, well, the 4 levels of ignorance is something I talk to my students about.
Tell me about it.
The first level is the unaware ignorance. You don't know anything about it, only you don't.
So you're not an ignorant. You are not an ignorant because you don't know anything about it.
Yeah. You don't even know that you're ignorant. You don't know that you don't know, right?
That's not bad at all.
Well, that makes life easier, but not so much a famous politician. Then you have the next level, is aware ignorance. I know this exists. I don't know enough about it, but I'm aware of it, right?
Okay.
Then I can go and ask people, right? Because I know I can do it. Yeah. And the next level would be the aware knowledge, where, yes, I know this, I'm aware of it. Then it gets risky, because then you tend to believe, if you're a designer, if you're an engineer, you tend to believe that you know it all.
I have clients like those.
Yeah, and then you have, of course, you have the top skills. Then it's
they think they know everything about it.
Engineers.
What's the, And the fourth?
The fourth one is the unaware, then you're really the master, then you have the unaware knowledge. You do things, you do it right, because you have such your toolbox is that large and it's so tested that it can do a lot. But then again, you need to be aware of this also when the tools change. And that's what happened in our industry over the last decades, right?
It takes
those toolboxes were not the only tools anymore.
It takes a lot of your time to be updated.
Yeah, and it keeps practicing.
Great answer, thank you.
So, but then we have a lot of topics to discuss.
Yes, to discuss in the afternoon. Any more questions? No? So let's have lunch. We will come back at 2. I'm just going to speak a little Portuguese for my students. Eu queria só recordar-vos. À tarde é a parte que provavelmente vos interessa mais, porque são os testemunhos de alunos e falar um pouco sobre as dificuldades que os alunos podem ter ou não em fazer o programa Erasmus. Eu acho que era importante que vocês viessem assistir, gostava mesmo muito que viessem, e portanto espero que vocês às 2. So at 2 o'clock here, and we'll have some testimonials from former students and a little bit of this discussion, okay? See you later. So, wait a minute, shake.
Principalmente para o terceiro ano todos, né? Mas principalmente o terceiro ano, que está acabando o curso, pode pensar em fazer Erasmus, deve pensar em fazer.
Vocês vão ver que isso abre-vos completamente a mente. See you later.
Vou comprar. Mas nós temos que deixar isso.
Gosto mais.